One of the most fascinating things about the Versus series to me as a fan of Street Fighter is how the games function as sort of a time capsule of what the most relevant Street Fighter games were at the time. The early Marvel Versus games and Capcom vs SNK 1 were filled with a ton of Street Fighter Alpha era characters, and the Marvel 3 had some Street Fighter 4 love with Crimson Viper. But I've always found Street Fighter 3's representation in the Versus games interesting, as it had characters present when the Versus series went on hiatus, and was there when it returned in the late 2000s. Of course, the characters I speak of are Yun and Alex, appearing in Capcom vs SNK 2 and Tatsunoko vs Capcom respectively. Both characters debuted in the appropriately titled Street Fighter 3 New Generation, with Alex in particular being the new protagonist, though Ryu and Ken would also show up as well so that there'd be at least a little familiarity for players. Alex himself hails from New York, the development team wanting an American character to headline the game to appeal to US players. Alex has a wrestling-inspired moveset for similar reasons. Wrestling was considered by the development team to be the type of combat most emblematic of American culture. According to longtime Capcom artist and designer Akira Yasuda, better known by his pseudonym Akimen, Alex's face paint was directly inspired by the main character of Devilman. Alongside being from New York, Alex is living with a man named Tom, a military veteran and a friend of his long-deceased parents. Most of his knowledge of fighting comes from Tom, having trained at his gym daily. Alex enters the tournament covered in the events of Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, hoping to avenge Tom, who had previously been severely injured in a fight against Gil, the main antagonist. Alex is able to defeat Gil, but isn't able to kill him. Having gotten that out of his system, he encounters Ryu during the events of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, who handily beats him, but encourages him to grow stronger and fight more people. This sparks something in Alex, now dead set on rematching Ryu and coming out victorious. Many of Alex's mannerisms in the Street Fighter 3 series are inspired by another well-known American wrestler, Hulk Hogan, with his shirt-tearing intro animation being a nod to him, and most notably, his special intro of Hugo being a nod to Hogan and Andre the Giant's WrestleMania staredown, Hugo of course being based off of the latter. On the other hand, we have Yun, who's almost always seen with his younger twin brother Yang, though Yun is easily the more popular character of the two. Their origins date back a little further than Street Fighter 3 though. The initial concept for twins using the same martial arts style was something devised for Super Street Fighter 2 to appear alongside Cammy and T-Hawk, but was scrapped as having two unique characters was seen as the more appealing option. The concept was then revived for Street Fighter 3, with the development team giving them special attention, as they were designed to look and play even cooler than Alex, using their Kung Fu in particular in conjunction with the parry system developed for the game. Yun and Yang's movesets use a combination of Kung Fu and Bajishuan, the latter's influence being confirmed by the designers to be ode to Kenji, a manga series centered around Bajishuan that inspired other practitioners you tend to see in Japanese media, most famously Akira in Virtua Fighter. I'm not sure if Capcom artists ever confirmed the inspiration or not, but both Yun and Yang's designs seem to reference Trowa and Duo from Gundam Wing. In any case, it wouldn't be the first time influential anime has inspired Capcom character designs. Just look at Cyberbots and Tech Romancer. Both brothers are avid skaters, Yun usually being seen on a skateboard while Yang is often rollerblading. They're also both the nephews of Lee, one of the computer-controlled opponents in the very first Street Fighter game. The twins are a little less consequential to the overarching story of Street Fighter 3. They work in their grandfather's restaurant and generally serve as peacekeepers in their local community, settling disputes. Their example being something that Street Fighter 6 newcomer Jamie has stated he aspires to. Seeing as how Street Fighter 3 was the most recent Street Fighter series at the time, it makes sense that Yun was added as a newcomer to Capcom vs SNK 2. And considering it was also still the most recent Street Fighter game when Tatsunoko vs Capcom development started, it makes sense that Alex was added to that. Though Yun is the twin that takes center stage in CVS 2, Yang does feature in some of his intro and victory poses, as well as some of his moves. We'll go over them as they come. Yun's voiced in Capcom vs SNK 2 by Kentaro Ito, who voiced him in Street Fighter 3 and all subsequent appearances, including Capcom Fighting Evolution and Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. He's also well known for providing the voice of Renji in Bleach, Choji in Naruto, and Chester in pretty much anything related to Tales of Fantasia. Alex is voiced in Tatsunoko vs Capcom by Hiroki Yasumoto, who's done a ton of anime and video game voice work, having voiced Pod 42 in Nier Automata, Raven in the Guilty Gear series, Elfman in Fairy Tail, and most relevantly, fellow blonde-haired American Guile in Street Fighter from Street Fighter 4 onwards. We've got two separate games to cover here, so let's get on with things. Yun joined Capcom's crossovers in Capcom vs SNK 2, being one of the few Street Fighter characters in the game to debut a new sprite, as well as a moveset somewhat tweaked from his Street Fighter 3 appearances. He is notably lacking his infamous Ganage super art though. If you're primarily a Street Fighter player that gravitates to Yun for his consistent top tier oppression, well, you might want to sit down for this one. He gets good mix overall thanks to a lot of his specials ending in a hard knockdown or air reset. He benefits hugely from Sigur's ability to cancel level 2 moves into a special. But CVS2 has probably the worst dive kick Yun's ever had, despite it being an important part of his kit. His pokes don't really confirm into any sort of damaging combos. His damage isn't really all that great either. And he has pretty low health overall. Yun retains a good chunk of his toolkit from Street Fighter 3, though obviously universal mechanics from his home series are locked to P groove in this game. You'd think that'd be his best groove, but he typically gets more out of C and A grooves. Yun has several target combos and command normals that carry over from Street Fighter. Senpu Kyaku or Whirlwind Kick is his first one, done with forward and medium kick. Yun's had this one since his debut game, Street Fighter 3 New Generation. Hakuryu Rengeki is a target combo done with light punch, light kick, and medium punch. This is special cancelable and makes for a simple, grounded bread and butter combo. Yun first got this target combo in Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. Hakuryu Suhada is Yun's second grounded target combo, done with medium punch, heavy punch, and back and heavy punch. This one's great for confirming in the supers, and if you opt not to do the last input, Yun is left plus on block. Unlike the aforementioned target combo, Yun's had this one since New Generation. Yun also has an aerial target combo as well, done with light punch, followed by forward and heavy punch during a jump. This one functions decently as a reliable air-to-air move to swat people out of a jump. Yun got this one in Second Impact. Raigeki Shu is Yun's infamous dive kick, done with down forward and any kick during a jump. Yun does a diving kick at a steep angle. Unlike every other game Yun has been in, where this is a godlike mobility and offensive tool, it's pretty underwhelming here. It does see use in combos, but not in the way you'd think. Yun's trickier juggle combos are done by whiffing light dive kick after a medium kick juggle, as it's the fastest way to get him back down to the ground and in a state where he can continue a juggle. Yun's had this one since New Generation. Yun's classic lunge punch is done with a quarter circle forward and punch, the strength and distance traveled being dependent on the punch button used. If you roll cancel this move, it actually functions as a decent anti-air as well. This is another one he's had since New Generation. Tatsunoko is done with a dragon punch motion and punch. The medium and heavy variations launch opponents. The Tatsunoko is probably the most iconic Bajishuan technique, having been popularized in gaming particularly by Akira in Virtua Fighter, though many other characters have done it. I feel like I've hit this particular talking point multiple times in multiple videos on this channel already though, so I won't waste time going into it again. Yun first got this in Second Impact. Sun Kyutai is done with the quarter circle forward and kick. This is a pretty straightforward kick anti-air. Though Yun first received this in New Generation, he actually lost this move in Third Strike, getting Nisho Kyaku instead, while Yang retained this move. Interesting to see him get it back for CVS too. Kobokushi is done with a quarter circle back and punch. This is a double palm push that Yun needs to be at close range to hit with. Yun's had this since New Generation. Yun also retains the ability to feint this particular move, done with the same motion but pressing 2 punch buttons instead of 1. He could also do this in New Generation. Feinting this move is a great way to set up for a throw, or even better, Yun's command grab, done with a half circle back and kick. Yun leaps over the opponent, opening him up for a combo. This does no damage, but repositions Yun, allowing you to follow up however you please. Yun's had this since New Generation. Surai Rengeki is done with the double quarter circle forward motion and punch. Yun does a series of strikes before kicking the opponent up into the air and striking them a few more times. Yun's had this since New Generation. In C-Groove, the level 2 version of this move can be cancelled into a special move or a level 1 super, though the former is preferred since it can set up a lot of Yun's juggle combos if you cancel the first hit into Tatsunoko. Raishin Mahaken is done with a double quarter circle forward motion and kick.
The art of the combination attack.
This is traditionally one of Yang's moves, and as such, Yang comes out and performs the move. Yang first got this in Street Fighter III Second Impact. Though they're separate characters now, it can be easy to forget that in New Generation, Yang was functionally an alternate costume for Yun. Second Impact made him his own character and gave him a separate moveset from Yun. Yun has 2 level 3 supers in CVS 2. First is Yoho, done with the double quarter circle back motion and punch.
What we like to call big damage. What we like to call big damage.
This does a lot of damage and sets up for juggle follow-ups, but its tendency to whiff makes it the least used of Yun's supers. He first got this as a super art in Second Impact. Yun's second level 3 is arguably one of the coolest in the game, done with the quarter circle back motion and kick in the air. Yang hops in from off screen and the two proceed to beat the stuffing out of the opponent before knocking them into the air and finishing them off with a flashy kick from both sides. This one's strictly an air-to-air super and does a pretty decent chunk of damage. Along with Kyosuke's level 3, it's one of my favorites in the game, at least on the Capcom side. My personal favorite super in the game overall is actually on the SNK side. We'll get to her someday. Yun has a special intro interaction with Chun-Li.
Live and let die.
And here's Yun's colors. Color 2 is of course styled after Yang. Years later, in 2008, Alex joined the roster of Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, representing Street Fighter III, while Ryu and Chun-Li represented Street Fighter I and II respectively. Alex's theme in the original Course Generation of Heroes release is an arrangement of jazzy New York City '99, he and Ken's stage theme in Street Fighter III Third Strike. Jazzy NYC has been associated with Alex since New Generation, but the Third Strike version is easily the most popular rendition, arguably being the first song a lot of people think of when you bring up Street Fighter III music. As for the remix itself, it's an abridged arrangement that incorporates the round 1 and 2 variants of the song from the arcade version. It's a decent enough arrangement, though I don't think there's any topping the Third Strike version. I'm personally a fan of the Dreamcast and PS2 versions of the Third Strike soundtrack, which adds a third round arrangement and generally use higher quality instruments than the CPS3 soundtrack. Grapplers in the Capcom vs. games have historically ranged from trash to middling at best, Meg Zangief in Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter being probably the best one for reasons entirely unrelated to him being a grappler. While Alex isn't top tier by any stretch of the imagination, I think he represents a positive shift in overall viability for the archetype in the Versus games. He's the only non-giant in Ultimate All-Stars with a snapback, with his pseudo knockdown position allowing for mix-ups on incoming. He hits like a truck. The damage scaling being reset during variable air raids, the progenitor of the Marvel 3 CACs, hugely benefits Alex's damage output. He's also one of the best anti-giant characters. He has somewhat lacking mobility though, having only one jump and air dash as opposed to the two most other characters have. And this also affects his ability to approach. He's liable to get zoned out or have his approaches easily stuffed. Alex has a few moves in Street Fighter 3 that have alternate animations if the opponent is facing away from him, and these have been carried over in the Tatsunoko vs. Capcom as well. Additionally, he also has alternate animations for specific matchup scenarios. We'll get to them as they come. Alex's jumping heavy in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom is his flying cross chop from the Street Fighter 3 games, which he's had since New Generation. His launcher is also his crouching heavy punch from Street Fighter 3 as well.
First attack.
Alex also has a command normal lariat done with forward and heavy attack.
First attack.
Alex first got this in third strike. First off is power bomb done with a half circle back and attack. What you get is basically what you see. Alex powerbombs the opponent. This attack can notably be done in the air as well, and powerbomb benefits a lot from this. The higher up Alex is when he performs the move, the more damage it does. Particularly, when done at the end of a variable air raid, it does a good chunk of damage, thanks to the partial damage scaling reset variable air raid provides, as well as the height the tag then Alex is at when performing the move. Alex has had this since New Generation. Alex can also perform this move on giants, grabbing them by the leg and slamming them into the ground. Flash chop is done with a quarter circle forward and any attack button.
First attack.
Alex does a horizontal chop with energy coming out from his elbow. If this connects, on top of doing damage, the opponent is turned away from Alex briefly. Alex has had this since New Generation. If Alex performs a powerbomb when the opponent is turned away from him, this move becomes a suplex. This is also a trait that comes from New Generation. This also, surprisingly, applies to the Giants as well, having a unique animation for them. The heavy version of Flash Chop is unique. It can be charged, and if charged to the max, it becomes the unblockable machine gun chop.
Wonderful.
This takes a long time to charge, but if it connects, it does a ton of damage. If Alex is fighting Roll of Beautiful Joe, you'd think this move would whiff, but no. Alex will actually stoop down to the level upon the initial hit and perform the move while crouching. Those hands are rated E for everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. This move is usable on Giants as well, Alex knocking them into a kneeling position before pummeling them. Slash elbow is done with a sonic boom charge motion. Alex moves forward and does a horizontal slashing motion with his elbow. It's similar to Flash Chop, but moves Alex farther forward. The medium version causes a knockdown, while the heavy version wall bounces. Alex first gained this in Second Impact. However, this move also has additional utility in TVC. If Alex performs a Dragon Punch motion and presses any attack during this, he will perform a drop kick. The drop kick uniquely performs a snapback, a universal mechanic in Marvel 2, but limited to 3 or 4 characters in TVC, depending on which version of the game you have. Alex is in a grounded state for a brief time after performing this and can roll back to neutral, allowing for some tricky mix-ups on the incoming character if utilized correctly. Knee smash is done with a Dragon Punch motion and any attack. This is an anti-air attack that brings the opponent down to the ground if it connects, the distance traveled being dependent on the strength of the attack button pressed. Alex has had this one since New Generation. Air Stampede is done with a flash kick charge motion. Alex leaps up before stomping back down on the ground, hard. This hits OTG and is good to tack on in the end of combos if you think it'll hit. Alex has also had this one since New Generation. Alex's first hybrid combo is Boomerang Raid, done with the quarter circle forward and 2 attacks.
Good. Fusion FP. Good.
Alex does a series of chops and punches before ending with a suplex. This was one of Alex's super arts in New Generation. If the initial hits are blocked, but the opponent is still in range for the grab, Alex will instead powerbomb the opponent instead of suplexing them. This is also taken from Street Fighter 3, where the move also has that property. Stun Gun Headbutt is done with the Dragon Punch motion and 2 attack buttons.
Good. Fusion FP.
Alex leaps up and grabs the opponent, headbutting them multiple times and leaving them in a stunned state which Alex can combo from. This attack doesn't do much damage, the majority of its utility coming from the stun state, which can be used in some particularly nutty setups with the right team composition. Where Alex lands during the initial jump is dependent on which 2 attack buttons are pressed. Light and medium land him right in front of where he jumped from, light and heavy take him to about mid-screen, and medium and heavy go about 3/4 of the way across the screen. Alex has had this since New Generation. Fun little anecdote about this move. In the very first location test for Cross Generation of Heroes in July of 2008, this move actually did normal damage, leading to people discovering that Alex had easy, damn near touch of death setups that can be done by looping this move. The devs would tone down the damage in later location tests and for the final release overall. This move also has probably the best alternate animation in Alex's move list they've done against Giants. Just look at it. I'm gonna let y'all make your own jokes here. Show me the best ones you got in the comment section. Alex's level 3 is Hyper Bomb, done with the 360 motion and 2 attacks.
Hyper. Bomb. Yes. Fusion FP. Hyper. Bomb. Yes.
This move does a ton of damage, as expected for a command grab level 3. This is another super art that originated in New Generation. This move also has an alternate animation if done with the opponent's back to Alex.
Good.
This is taken from Street Fighter 3 as well. Alex also has an alternate animation for this move on the Giants as well.
First attack. Hyper. Bomb. Yes.
And on top of that, he also has an alternate animation for that if they somehow have their backs turned to him. Alex's assist is Slash Elbow.
First attack. Assist over.
This is a pretty straightforward assist that works great for combo extensions. Here are Alex's colors. Alex's color 3 is based on his color selected by pressing all 3 punch buttons in Third Strike, while color 4 is reminiscent of his medium punch color from Third Strike as well. And here's Alex's ending in Cross Generation of Heroes and Ultimate All-Stars. I think Street Fighter 3's place in history is pretty funny. Not ha-ha funny, just fascinating. New Generation is considered to be just a total failure of a game, commercially and even from a mechanical standpoint where things just don't work as they should. But then you have Third Strike, which a lot of people would argue is the greatest fighting game of all time. Not me, I'm an Alpha 2 and KOF 98 guy myself, but I think the sentiment is valid. It's nice to see that Street Fighter 3 in general had some shine in the Versus games, though apparently there were other characters planned to appear as well. Ibuki and Gil were both considered for TVC and Ultimate Marvel 3 respectively, the former losing out to Alex himself and the latter losing out to Nemesis according to Ryota Nitsuma, the game's producer. As for Yun and Alex, well, they're Street Fighter characters, so they'll never be away for too long. Yun eventually showed up along with Yang in Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, terrorizing that meta with his dive kicks and overall ludicrous offense, as well as being added to the Game Boy Advance and PSP ports of Alpha 3. Alex would show up as the first DLC character in Street Fighter 5, depicting him a bit before the events of Street Fighter 3. Some say there's folks out there still waiting to see that Alex trailer. He's also announced for the third season of Street Fighter 6 with an outstanding new design as well. He's probably the character I'm most interested in seeing alongside Ingrid. Both Yun and Alex did join the roster of another crossover game as well, Capcom Fighting Evolution, which was of course built in the wake of the cancelled Capcom Fighting All-Stars, which was also slated to feature Alex. That's going to do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching, and a special thanks to the patrons that support the channel. Take care, stay safe, and play Third Strike. It's a good game.